Retrotech uses Emulate3D primarily for controls testing, where we have a system that we're getting ready to install, and we want to make sure that all the control software is ready before we go to the field. Most of what we do is done either in a live system or a large integrated system where we can't do the testing at site or at home on any real equipment. So anything that we can do in the simulated world ahead of time saves us time on site. The best advantage of using Emulate3D versus other simulation products is the physics that's in it. Any other simulation that you use, you're bound by the quality of the coding that you put in the simulator. Whereas in Emulate3D, you get emergent behavior based on interaction of objects that's usually unforeseen. So when you're doing controls testing, trying to get hardware to work with actual control software, that proves out the operation of the equipment to a much more detailed level than what a typical simulator would do. Emulate3D support is about as responsive as it comes. I'm not sure if they sleep at night. Email support is great. Everybody responds in a hurry, and we have a pretty direct line to the real developers that know everything about it, including when we ask for new features. In a recent project, we were assembling an integrated system where we're not supplying any hardware, but we're integrating hardware from several vendors. And controls testing was a big piece of this because it's a large system with about 5,000 I/O points connected to various controllers. And we don't have the time in the schedule to go on site and fight it for months. So what this allows us to do is almost do factory acceptance testing in-house with the vendors and their controls people and prove out all of their applications before we ever go in front of the customer. Additionally, there are several areas in the system that are highly complex, and Emulate3D allows us to illustrate behavior that we either expect or expect not to occur with our vendors so that they can understand more clearly what kind of things we're looking for or what the requirements are, where text alone doesn't convey enough detail. When Retrotech shows an Emulate3D model to a client, the first thing the client typically responds with is that they want that model as their user interface. The visualization and the navigation and everything in it is miles beyond a typical user interface in these systems, and it gives them such a great view and a great insight into how the system works that they typically want it. If we have everything that is already tested using emulation before we ever go in front of the customer, the thing that they see is that we fly out to site, we turn everything on, and it works, which is pretty amazing from a customer watching a large system start up. There's a lot of people with a lot of experience where these startups take months. And so to be able to flip a switch and start something up in a relatively short amount of time is one great way to impress a client.